You can't. I cannot emphasize this enough. Hi, welcome back to whatever this is. My name is Kaysa. I'm online, and today I'm going to talk about a movie that I never got around to watching, but I kind of did want to watch it. But then what I learned about was kind of crazy, and it's Midsommar. I want to talk about how I would approach dealing with the situation. First off, I'm generally speaking an introvert and a homebody. It's not that I don't like going out, but socializing takes a type of energy that I just don't always have. And it's probably because of the people that I know. They also don't have the energy to socialize. Being an adult is weird, I'm telling you right now. Anyway, we're talking about the movie Midsommar, like I said, and I'm going to read a synopsis before I continue forward with my thoughts on how I would approach the whole situation, because I have an idea of how I would potentially approach this. A couple travel to Sweden to visit their friend's rural hometown for its fabled Midsummer Festival, but what begins as an idyllic retreat quickly devolves into an increasingly violent and bizarre competition at the hands of a pagan cult. Now, the first thing I want to say is that that's not your friend. Your friends should not be inviting you to a cult out in the boonies, out in the rural area. I don't really think that's your friend. I think you need to reevaluate your friendship. So the first thing I would personally do is just, pat myself on the back for being the introvert that I am, because there's a really good chance I probably wouldn't be going on the trip anyway. There's a really good chance that even when invited, I just don't want to go. There's something about going to an isolated area to hang out with. It said it was Midsummer Festival, but I feel as though that you could probably just do a quick Google search to know that this festival is probably not for your average commercial goer. A lot of festivals you could probably just look up on your own. So at the time of this film, I don't remember exactly what the time period is supposed to be, but it's modern enough is what I'll assume. Now, I do know some other details about the film, about what generally happens, and part of the pagan ritual is to select some people, and I believe it's the main character, Danny, who gets selected as, we're gonna call her prom queen. That's not the title, but we're gonna call her prom queen. And then her boyfriend, of whom she's having not a great relationship with, he gets put into a bear for whatever reason. I don't know the reasoning behind it, but he was selected for something else, and I know this girl was crushing on him too. So that was interesting. And I know that scene that they were with the water, and yeah. And also another friend, well, to put it simply, he was tortured in an ancient torture method. I believe it's called being eagled, or the eagle torture method, which I've only read about prior to this film. So to have it in the film, let's say I wouldn't wish that on anybody. There's some people who I would wish bad things on, right? Sure, fine. I think we all reasonably have, wishing misfortune on certain people. But to the extent of that, I just don't know. I just don't. That torture method, if anybody knows about it, it's not like something you cast onto somebody lightly, right? If you imagine, if you're a super religious person, and then there's some form of hell, Hades, underworld where people are, tortured for the crimes they commit. That's where you imagine this form of torture to be. That's what I'm saying. It's a type of torture where it is meant to keep you alive as long as possible, if done correctly, I hear, so that you can have a prolonged, slow, painful experience. Because that's what old world torture is. Prolonged, slow, painful experiences, deliberately made to be as slow as possible. And I think if done correctly, you could probably last for some hours having to be in that state. So old world torture is, I can't speak about old world or modern torture, because I think all torture is probably just really bad, and a few seconds of torture can last forever, let alone hours and or days. I'd make a video about torture, but then I think it would start showing up in my nightmares, and my nightmares are already weird. What would I do in this scenario if I somehow got a part of the group to stay at this festival and try to enjoy it with the pagan cult? I think the best thing you can possibly do is to, one, be really enthusiastic about it. really just be like, I'm so for this. I would love to learn. I'm here to support. I'm going to help build the, the set. I'm going to help you with this. I'm going to help you with that. You just become a part of the cult. Go with it. That's your whole life right now. Because what you can do in that position is become part of the people who start selecting and choosing stuff. That's going to be your key right there. Being a part of it to the point that you be able to help make decisions. That's what I think happened to the main character, Danny. She becomes prom queen because she gets along with the cult and what's going on. It may also help to not be a man in this case, because it seems like all the men suffered from what happened in there. So as a woman, I might survive a little bit longer. And I know I'm androgynous, so I would have to really lay it out for them, like, hey, I can't help that my face is like this. I didn't really want to wear makeup. I didn't feel like paying for it. It's whatever. You got to get heavily involved with the cult. You have to. I think that's the thing with most cults. You have to get heavily involved. Once you're there, you got to be a team player. They're not going to fully trust you, but you can still participate and support. Because from there, you can start suggesting things. They'll actually listen to you to some degree. So then you have to start choosing too. You can try to choose to save yourself or to choose to save your friends, but you got to be like, listen, you got to know enough. You got to learn and know enough that when it's time for sacrifice and torture and choosing people, do not choose yourself for anything. Don't choose yourself to be prom queen. Don't choose yourself to be the sacrifice. Don't try to run away, because I think the reason why he got tortured is because he tried to leave it. Don't try to run away. Cults have this thing where the point is that you're not supposed to leave. That's the main thing with cults. They don't really want you to leave. They'll do a lot of things to make sure you don't leave. That's why cults are problematic, to say the least. So you got to go all in. You're a part of this cult so long as you're within the realm of being in the cult. Now, in the grand scheme of Midsommar, you can probably get away from the cult. He traveled to Sweden. So once you leave Sweden, you just don't go back, is what I would suggest. But you have to get to a point of knowledge and understanding that you do not be the one to be considered a sacrifice, but you can start weighing in on things. Now, if they are speaking a different language, like if they're speaking Swedish, obviously you're speaking English, that might be a little bit of a difficulty right there. You may need a translator, but going a long way with helping is just enough. But you can't bother them too. You gotta finesse it. It's gonna be like a thin line. Don't bother them. Don't be super eager, but be there to be like, hey, I just want to help. I understand. We're going to hear a party. It's going to be a great festival. I just want to be involved. But don't be on their asses all day, every day. Because if you annoy them, then they'll want to get rid of you for a different reason. That's the other thing about cults. You can't run away. Don't bother them. And seem at least enthusiastic enough, that you are convinced of what's going on, that you believe in what they're saying, because that's all they want, is that for you to join them so you can be a part of the hive mind. And then when that's done and maybe your friend was killed, then you just gotta go. Don't worry about going to the police in Sweden. Leave. Get out. You gotta go to another country. Report them later. I don't care, but don't do it there. Don't be that person. I'm calling the police now. No, you're not. You're leaving. Once the festival's over, we're never talking about that again. We're gone. Goodbye. You can't. I cannot emphasize this enough. Do not try to contact the police in the midst of being held up by a cult that wants to look for a sacrifice. Not good. At least on paper. But that's me. That's what I would do. It's not like I don't want to try to get the police involved, but you just never know how that's going to work out. Again, a cult does not want you to leave. They will have things in place, more places for you not to leave than for you to actually stay. Objectively, that's what I'm assuming. Because if you just believe in what they're saying, they don't actually have to do a lot for you to stay, because you'll just believe and they'll just do whatever. But if you're trying to leave, well, that's where the problem's come in. Okay? They have more barriers to leave than to come in, With that being said, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and give me your thoughts. Just, I'm just saying, how would you approach a cult that has to have a sacrifice, So many cults out there. It's weird.